So here's something funny. This computer is pretty amusing. So that's a 580 that I received recently, and those are 2 sticks of each 2 gig of Crucial Ballistics RAM that's at 1866 megahertz, and underneath that cooler is a pretty old Athlon 2 quad core processor, and that's a really cheap Gigabyte AM3 board. Now, that graphics card and those sticks of RAM were in that computer back there, which both of these used to belong to your boy Ronald. I'll link his Twitch if you want to see him stream stupid things with my old computer. But he spilled, while that card and this memory was in that computer, he spilled tea in it. And tea isn't necessarily recommended for your PC hardware. And what I think happened is that case had a fan in the top, and the fan hit the tea over to like the motherboard, and then it ran down the motherboard. So that graphics card was kind of working. It sometimes wouldn't let the computer post, and when it was working, it wasn't really running at full speed. You could tell something was amiss. And the right stick of RAM was okay, but the left one was not allowing the computer to post. So I took that memory and that graphics card, I took some Q-tips, tissue paper, and 99% isopropyl alcohol to all the connectors on them, and dusted the shit out of the graphics card. And what you have now is a working computer. Now, what's funny is that this is a very cheap, terrible motherboard, but it does support any AM3 Plus CPU that is 95 watts. So you can't do anything more than the FX 8320, but you can do the FX 8300, which happened to be on sale today for $115 on Tiger Direct. So I've gone ahead and ordered that, and I have this SSD in here because prior to this, the computer had no boot drive. I didn't realize how fast of an SSD I got for $50, which is 120 gigs. So this computer, especially when that processor's in, but even with this quad core, is incredibly fast. Now, that 1866 megahertz RAM is not compatible with this motherboard. If I were to show you the BIOS, it is ancient. It is the very old CMOS. I never even had, because the computers I had, I need to hold the camera steadier. You know, you'd have your American Megatrends BIOS, and this isn't that. This is the 2-column weird-looking one that I always would see in people's overclocking guides, but never had. Let's see if we can't mash delete. Gigabyte Ultra Durable 4 Classic. Did I make it in? Yes, I did. So that is 1866 megahertz RAM, which we would normally not be able to achieve on here. So you can see I've increased the frequency, which it says CPU frequency, but that the way that these boards work, these older boards, well, any board works, is that this is actually the frequency for everything on the front side bus. So this is CPU, memory, and your North Bridge, and your HT link. So it's all based from that number. This is normally 200. We're at 233 now. I gotta remember that. So normally we'd be at, what am I doing? Oh wait, number lock's not on. Okay, alright, 200. So, and the multiplier would be 15 on CPU, and this would actually be at 2000 megahertz. So that would be our settings, I believe. And we cannot increase the RAM past that. So we punch in 233, and I actually increased the CPU voltage and tried to run 3.5 gigahertz like you see there, and it did not like me. It actually made it 8 minutes in the IDA 64 before crashing, which is honestly more than I could hope. But TJ Maxx on this old Athlon is actually 71 degrees C, and it hit 71. It didn't go above 71 before crashing, so I don't know if it would have, but it did crash in IDA. So what I've done here is I can't actually run 3.5 gigahertz, but I might as well try to run the RAM at the right speed. I know that there's not a huge performance bonus with the speed of memory, but there's honestly no reason for me not to try. So I think we did 13.5, and that gave us 3.15 gigahertz on CPU, while being able to have our 1866 megahertz RAM. And we adjusted the Northbridge and the HT link to 2097 because I remembered from overclocking my old Phenom 2 6-core that you really want those to stay around the 2000 megahertz range. So, God, look at this BIOS, dude. We boot in, and we can actually see boot time now that I've done this. So here's a motherboard post, and then we are in Windows now, which that is pretty freaking good, and I'm honestly pretty impressed with that SSD down there. Without any UEFI new fancy trickery like that computer has, that's a very, very impressive post time. And I did not know that these. I have like one inbox here. These SanDisk SSD Plus SSDs are actually pretty freaking quick. So, because we've done a front side bus overclock here, if I were to go to performance in here, we read at the max speed is 2.7 gigahertz, which it would normally be 3. That's the stock, but it doesn't show up as such because that's not how the motherboard's not reporting that. It only reports changes in the multiplier to Windows. But if we look at CPU-Z, we are at 3.15 gigahertz. Maybe the camera will focus. Yes, it is. 3.15 gigahertz, and then we go over to our memory, which 932 times 2 for DDR means that we're at pretty close to the actual memory speed, and this computer has basically made it through IDA, and because it's basically going to be my spare computer, so if like I have a visitor at my house, I can be over here on this, and then somebody can play on here, which is actually a pretty nice setup, as I've learned. Things run pretty well. Now that 580, look at that. It was Ron's brother who owned this, and he never even took like the protective stickers from the factory off of like the logos and stuff. So I just did that now. Very dusty on top, but that's like kind of like the dust kind of stuck there. You can't really blow it off of there. But after cleaning off the contacts for the RAM and the graphics card, they run perfectly well. And the only game I've installed is Smite, but when the graphics card was in Ron's computer, he was complaining that like Smite was getting like 20 frames a second, and we are at a solid like 70 on this computer, so that's very good. And once that 8-core comes, this is going to be a very, very fast machine that I'm getting for a total of $115. So, just today's morning project, bringing some PC hardware back from the dead and even getting a slight overclock. And, yeah. Also, this power supply has been with me my entire, the whole time I've been a PC enthusiast. This has been with me. I gave it to Rollins for some time. It's a Diablo Tech 550 watt. You should never buy a power supply from Diablo Tech because there's no rating on it at all. And honestly, it ran a 6950 in this computer, and now it's running a 580. And that power supply is actually perfect. And yeah, hopefully I don't burn it out because that would be a real shame. So yeah, that's just me rambling on a shaky camera. And thanks for watching.